Why do you need more than one?
Why do I need? Because it's not, we have a Bill of Rights. It's not called the Bill of Needs. Why do you need that jacket? You could have certainly got a cheaper one. I mean,
Jacket's not going to kill anyone, is it?
No, either's my gun, because I don't kill people.
If I wanted to fire this on full semi-automatic, all I do is keep firing.
What the heck is a full semi-automatic, as that guy said in the clip? What is that? A full semi-automatic? I've never seen such a thing.
Well, do you want in a background check for the person selling you the gun to say, sir, I just got to ask you, you bought 30 guns in a year. Can you explain to me what you're doing with them?
No, why should I? I don't know. I have, you know what? If if I want to buy 30 guns in a year, why should I have to explain that away to the government? You can't give me a good answer as to what you would do if a guy confronts you with a gun. What? Oh, here's my wallet. What, are you going to beg? You going to get on your knees? I'm not getting on my knees. You can get on yours. I ain't getting on mine.
Would you not support a ban on the so-called cop killer bullets?
What are you talking about? Hollow point rounds? Well, what makes them any more dangerous than full metal jacket rounds? Who's going to say no to cop killer bullets? What are you talking about? The grain? Are you talking about the jacket? The answer is you probably don't know. I've asked 1,000 times. If gun control works, then why is it not working?
An AR-15 should not be used as a home protection weapon. Yeah, shotgun's actually a much better weapon.
No, but it's much harder to handle.
Entirely grotesque and condescending in the way he talks to her. The woman who's speaking is absolutely right. The AR-15 is a fantastic self-defense weapon.
He was a bad guy. You were a good guy.
You know what's interesting?
What's that?
With that guy, I interviewed him afterwards. We arrested him for criminal possession of a weapon.
That's right.
And I asked him about gun laws, and you know what he did? He laughed in my face. And you know what he said? Gun laws. He said, we love gun laws because only you idiots follow them, not us. That's the administrative bureaucratic hassle you get caught in. And that's another reason national reciprocity is just a must. What do you know that I don't know as a bureaucrat? I'm not going on your list. I'm not interested in your list, and I'm not interested in your opinion on how I should protect myself and my two daughters.
Look, after the first school shooting, it never should have happened again. Is this time different?
Criminals don't care about gun laws. Until you understand and accept that axiomatic truth, nothing else is going to matter.
Is now the time?
Well, how? I mean, what evidence does anybody have that gun controls worked anywhere?
Australia?
You have no evidence that gun controls worked in Australia. There are more guns now in Australia than before the gun confiscation. It doesn't work.
Getting them from coming in from where they're coming from,
but
wherever
Mayor,
they come, we don't know.
But Mayor,
but that's what the NRA should be doing, is assisting us with stopping the influx of illegal
NRA
guns.
Already is against illegal gun owners.
They're going to spray the town square with whatever weapon they have. They're going to have to stop and reload at some point, and there's an opportunity to reduce.
You sure? So they're going to use a 10-round magazine, not the hundreds of millions of 30-round magazines that are out there. You know who's going to use the 10-round magazine? The good guy who abides by the law. You can write whatever law you want restricting law-abiding citizens from having guns. You know who's going to obey that law, Trish? The law-abiding citizen. Criminals do not
Can't you make it
care.
harder?
It is not an obstacle.
Can't you make it harder?
We've got lawmakers, including the president, who are willing to look at background checks. At last I checked, I thought that the NRA was on board with that, particularly after Las Vegas.
What's frustrating about this debate is we keep talking about new gun laws. Let me just let you in on a little secret. Criminals don't care about your gun laws.
Would you agree that maybe perhaps training teachers to use firearms is also part of a good solution?
Strictly on a voluntary basis. I would not want anyone in possession of a firearm who's not comfortable with it, not willing to train with it. But if they're willing and able, absolutely. They don't give a damn. They don't care about laws, robbery laws, homicide laws, burglary laws, gun laws, or anything else. I don't know why you think a supply-side measure meant to limit criminals who simply get them off the street and openly mock gun laws. You have a constitutional right to protect yourself. The gun laws prescribe that constitutional right and put a fence around it before you've done anything wrong. In other words, they put a bureaucratic process in front of you where you can't even get the firearm.
Killing people in mental health.
The problem,
mental facility, and they should have taken that gun away from him.
But there were already laws to do that, and they missed it. There were already Baker Act laws.
I started by saying I thought it was law enforcement.
So they missed the
No, but how do you answer that? Like, criminals love gun laws because they get the guns and we don't.
We need to take the guns off the streets that are illegally infiltrating our community.
How does the law-abiding American citizen then protect themselves against the criminals who don't care about gun laws at all?
Vinny can call it whatever he likes, and anyone can call it gun control, but there's no such thing as gun control. It's a common debating tactic known as the utopian fallacy, where you compare this world to a world that doesn't exist. Where are guns controlled? In Brazil, where the gun control laws are really strict and people die every day. You can see the FBI data right here. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Philly, Memphis, Detroit. There's one thing in common. They're all run by liberals. Why is this crime spike happening in liberal cities?
Standing up in a crowded movie theater and yelling fire when there's no fire. Are you okay with rules that say you may not do certain things in the free speech area?
When you walk into the movie theater, does someone say to you, what are you going to say? Are you going to yell when you get in there? No. There's a sanction afterward.
How many guns do you own?
Gosh, I always forget. I have about 4 or 5 handguns. I have 2 shotguns, and I have 2 rifles.
A lot of people in Australia would hear that and go, that is dead set bonkers.
That's bonkers to not have.
And if I want to read from the Bible out loud in a loud voice?
Where?
In the movie theater?
That's not illegal. They may ask you to leave the movie theater. The problem is you're talking about post-action, not preemptive. There were already regulations on gun.
Well, you know, what we're about is gun violence prevention.
Defend bedrock constitutional rights in the defense of liberty.
We protect our money in our banks with firearms. We protect our president, our aldermen, our mayors. We protect everyone else with firearms. Why are the kids being treated to second-class security and a lot of flowery talking points? Then they talk about gun control, which is really an erosion of your right to self-protection, which is put in the hands of government agencies and government agents that can tell you when and when you cannot protect yourself. First on the gun control thing, you know, I'm really tired of this. You know, when do my rights come into question? And let me give a pro tip to the Democrats out there. I'm really tired of your crap on this, okay? Stop talking to us like we're a bunch of gun-toting rednecks. It's no decision you want to leave in the hands of a government bureaucrat. That is your home. Those are my 2 daughters. I'm not asking you for your permission to defend them. That was given to me by my God. You were birthed into this world with the ability to defend your life and your family. I don't want your permission. I'm not asking for it.
Take the guns first, go through due process second.
I want to get your reaction to that, Dan.
Well, that's not what due process is. I'm a big supporter of the president. I think his heart's in the right place. But due process is not taking the firearms first and then going to court. This was never about guns. Ever. This was about attacking an idea. The idea of liberty and freedom, folks. This was about people control from the start. With regards to, again, what liberals call high-capacity magazines, what normal people call standard-capacity magazines in their firearm. But if your thesis is more guns equals more gun homicide, more crime, Miranda, then how come this chart, courtesy of AEI, shows the exact opposite?
Our right to self-protection, to keep ourselves alive, to protect ourselves, our kids, our sons, our daughters, our wives, our mothers and fathers, is a right granted by God, not granted by the state. It's only protected by those documents by the state.
This entire debate is based on a faulty premise that I think, Geraldo, you're falling into this trap, okay? Criminals don't give a crap about gun laws, okay? They don't care. You know, I have kids too. I have 2 young daughters. You think it doesn't bother me as a dad and a former law enforcement officer, the idea that me or my family could be subjected to one of these savage animals? You know, why are we paying with our rights every time? What is the defining characteristic of a criminal? They are outlaws. They don't care about laws, robbery laws, burglary laws, gun laws. You are not slowing them down. I was in the streets. This is
the same defeatist attitude.
What is your message to the people that are marching? And can you try to see their side of the story?
Triage my needs in life. My kids are number 1. You will never wipe the stain of violence from the human heart. The only question out there is, what are we going to do to defend our kids against the wolves among us? Nice. Where has gun control worked, and what are weapons of war?
I'm not particularly literate in all of the different kinds of guns, magazines, high capacity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And then when they come home and say, by the way, you're not emotionally mature enough to use that almost exact same firearm in a lesser format in many cases when you're on American soil. That is an entirely
why do we keep
argument.
these kids from booze? No one should be able to shoot more than 10 rounds at one time. These high-capacity gun magazines are why so many people get shot.
This is absurd. You guys talk about this as if criminals actually care what you think. There's no such thing as gun control. There's only people control. And I can prove it to you. I don't remember ever having the conversation during my years in the Secret Service. And listen, we're taking the president to Baltimore, to Chicago. So let's just disarm because they have really strict gun control laws. Do you guys believe in liberty or not? I mean, how many lists do you want to be on? The government now has to license me, a law-abiding citizen, of the United States of America who just wants to protect my family.
Second
It's
Amendment,
symbolism.
Second Amendment,
It's not
Second Amendment.
substantive.
Second Amendment. The way the Second Amendment is construed now makes me sick.
The Second Amendment makes you sick? Why? So the criminals don't care about your gun laws. They love them because it keeps law-abiding people unarmed.
Australia.
It's worked in Australia.
Yes.
Actually, Jenna, can I correct you? There's actually more guns now in Australia than there were before the gun control. Did you know that? There's a title right there. Wow, there it is. We had that ready to go. Australia, more guns now. Absolutely vote against the gun grabber. And whatever you need to say within the realm of reason to motivate people to get out and vote, because you will lose your
First of all, that's a talking point to call someone a gun grabber. No one is trying to take your guns. That is a talking point.
Don, you're Captain Talking Point. The criminals have no such fear.
None.
They throw it in their waistband and do whatever they want. It's only people like us that have to walk around terrified that we're going to get caught in some administrative hassle because we're exercising what's unquestionably our constitutional right. If gun laws are the answer, then why are gun laws strict in liberal cities where this crime spike is happening? I mean, it's not working. So why do something that's not working? Do you realize that a lot of these weapons are just banned because they're really scary looking? They're not based on any ballistic capability of the actual round. There is no science in this at all.
Do you take issue with the phrase assault weapon?
Well, does Vinny have a weapon that's not designed to assault? Why do I carry a gun? Because if someone confronts me in a gun in an incident, God forbid, given the extremely low likelihood, you're dead. It's over.
If he had been limited to 10 rounds, wouldn't that have slowed him down and possibly saved some lives?
In the Secret Service, we could change out a magazine in about 1.5 seconds. You know who determines the amount of rounds you need in a gunfight to protect yourself or your family? Not you. The bad guy. So if the laws aren't working now, I ask you this. Where are these angels in government that you put so much of your faith in that are going to institute new laws that are all of a sudden going to work?
Make it more difficult for people who are dangerously mentally ill or otherwise dangerous to get access to guns.
I don't want to conflate this all with mental illness, by the way. The overwhelming majority of people who have a severe mental illness are not, in fact, violent. We want to keep the guns out of the hands of the violent people who are mentally ill. You know when the magazines, when the gunfight's over, when the bad guy stops shooting at you, that's when it's over. He doesn't have a magazine restriction, or she. Nope. They don't care. Right. They'll get access to anything. It's just you who's restricted. You got a bunch of people basically rallying to take away the rights of people like me who did nothing wrong. Brian, I didn't do anything, all right? I'm a legal, patriotic, American gun owner. I own firearms.
Facts never get in the way of a stupid liberal argument. The number of privately owned firearms in that 10-year period went up by 56%. What happened to the gun homicide rate? It went down. For liberals, again, that's the opposite of up. It dropped 49%.
There it is. Convicted felons, those who have, through their behavior, demonstrated going forward they shouldn't be able to own firearms. How do we keep them from getting weapons at gun shows and through private sales?
Well, there is no gun show loophole if Vinny's not telling you the truth. What did I do wrong? Why should I have to surrender a firearm to you for doing absolutely nothing? This is all about straw men and scapegoats. The NRA did it. Law-abiding gun owners did it. We did nothing wrong.
You know, we're being governed by a class of political cowards who manipulate data, statistics, and emotions to try to take away your liberties.
Vinny points out selectively correlational data he knows I could point out as well. Brazil has the toughest gun control laws in the world. They also have assassinations on the street. Have you ever seen someone shot? You're cherry-picking data. No, because correlation does not equal causation. If you take a statistics course, you realize that.
He doesn't care about a magazine restriction. He's going to have a standard capacity magazine while you're restricted to 10 rounds.
You also make it more difficult for the tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of others of 18-year-olds out there who've done absolutely nothing wrong and would like to buy a rifle to go hunting.
So what?
So what? No, we live in a free country.
So what? You're
trying to disarm the law-abiding will do nothing to make the criminals amongst us. Will not change their actions one bit. It'll just put us in more danger, make us sheep. While they don't give a damn about your laws. I did this for a living. They laugh at gun laws.
It's worse. They're actually saying you're complicit.
Let me get this straight. So the country's sportsmen, fathers, mothers who want to protect their own kids with a tool, a firearm, all of a sudden we're terrorists? You know, wake up.
Right.
You're not going to convince anybody by this.
Talking about guns and Republicans as if they're at fault.
No. I am not giving up, and nor is anyone else, my right to defend my daughter, my wife, and myself.
Someone to walk in with a gun and you won't know it. airplanes, courthouses, someone with a gun, and you won't know it. That's the risk.
Oh my God. This is about weapons of war being made in people's living rooms.
Oh. No one ever says, hey, don't worry, we're going to Chicago. There's really strict gun laws there, so everybody leave the guns at home. We don't need them. Why carry the extra equipment? We're going to waste fuel on the airplane. Leave them home. Matter of fact, when you go to Chicago, you probably bring extra weapons.
What part of this do you not get? You guys did not give us these rights. These are God-given rights good patriotic men and women have to stay alive.
This kid was 19, he was a nutcase, shouldn't have had a gun in the first place, yet he bought it legally. So maybe we should ban all people his age or under 21 from buying guns.
I'm really sick of liberals. I mean, like, really sick, like getting physically ill listening to them because they can't be consistent on an argument.
Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with the grain of the bullet, the performance of the weapon. It's done because they're really scary looking. Because Dianne Feinstein saw it in a Terminator movie once.
It's not happening to me. I am a patriotic, law-abiding, God-fearing American. I have the right to survive an attack by a homicidal maniac.
It's clear as day that gun control has absolute, which by the way is a myth, that they're manipulating the language. Gun control, with air quotes, has no effect whatsoever on violence or the ability of wolves in our society to impart violence on you.
What's your opinion of the Second Amendment? Exactly right. That's a great question. The problem is that we feel the need to ask politicians their opinion on the Second Amendment. My opinion, frankly, is irrelevant.
Chicago, 92 shot, 16 killed. You may say, what, this year? No, this weekend. Criminals would rather go and buy guns out of state and then commit crimes where the gun laws are really restrictive because no one else can protect themselves. You wanted to blame it on us, this attack in California? And what'd you think we were going to do? You can plant a big wet one on my caboose today.
Gun control issue. What they do is they manipulate an emotional crisis to further an ideological agenda, which involves the evaporation, the slow disintegration of your civil rights, your liberties, your ability to live and let live.
Against a deranged attacker who, by the way, was a prohibited possessor, shouldn't have had a gun, according to the law, which criminals always ignore. Your argument is what? That when criminals who don't care about the law get a firearm to attack you with, that you're better off without a firearm defending yourself?
So they feel the need to be protected by weapons and self-defense and the ability to defend themselves with their security details, of which I was one. But they don't want to impart the same rights upon you, the average American citizen.
Your premise is that this guy was better off without a firearm defending himself. Because if it is, in the stupid Olympics, seriously, you just took the gold medal. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life.
He calls us the vision of the anointed. Here again, here's this bureaucrat, this letter you get from a class of bureaucrats, basically saying what you can and can't do while they do the exact opposite. I mean, we are living in this post-constitutional society right now.
Every single firearm that's eliminated and deemed illegal because it's an assault weapon. Folks, where are the non-assault weapons?
Criminals are going to get their guns no matter what. The only question is, what are legal law-abiding citizens allowed to do to defend themselves against said criminals? There's no other question. They are going to get the guns. Abortion laws, don't put any abortion laws on the books. They'll all be ignored. But gun laws, those will really work. Those will definitely stop homicidal maniacs from getting guns and preying on the rest of us while we're all unarmed.
This is an issue about people control. And it's an issue about people control because we are living right now in a super-constitutional society. The Constitution has almost become meaningless to some on the left and to some on the right as well.
Somehow they have sold to you, the American citizen, that it's moral, ethical, kind, or generous to disarm you while allowing the wolves in our society, the criminals, to impart violence upon you at will.
There are two parallel tracks for gun owners. On the first track, you have legal gun owners. Then you have track number two, people who steal them and buy them on the black market. Right. They don't care about track number one. Once they convert these states to a may rather than shall issue status, your Second Amendment rights go out the window. They invent 600, 700 different reasons to never give you the ability to exercise what should be your God-given right to defend yourself.
What's fascinating is the president's entitled to protection in Chicago, but the Chicago residents are not entitled to protect themselves. I mean, Is that not a stunning act of hypocrisy? How do you explain that away in your head if you are a far leftist rationally?
This endless effort to take away firearms from people like me who didn't do a damn thing wrong. What did I do wrong? Why should I have to surrender a firearm to you for doing absolutely nothing? We're not going to legislate our way out of this, Ainsley. We're just not. What are you going to ban bump stocks? You know what? We have 3D printers. I've got news for you that could create a bump stock in probably under 5 minutes. What are you going to do about that? We can't legislate our way out of the evil in some men's hearts.
Best weapon against all of this, the anti-freedom warriors and cancel culture, are all of the Paul Reveres out there. You're out there. You know who you are. As a friend once told me, and it resonated with me to this day, you're all the leaders we've been waiting for.
Why are my rights always under attack? Because of the acts of a savage madman. I did nothing wrong. Right. I'm sorry, you're not going to legislate this thing away. It's just not, doesn't work that way.
It was my choice. It was my God-given right to be able to protect myself and my family. That was my right, not given to me by a piece of paper, only insured by that piece of paper. More guns, less gun homicide. Again, liberals, gun rate ownership up, gun homicide rate down, down the opposite. We live in a society of wolves. You do not fight back by creating more sheep.
Check out my book and thanks for watching.